What's up guys, it's Dragon Ball for Life here today and I'm back with another video. Now today's video I want to talk about why the Dragon Ball fan base is terrible at power scaling. Now I was kind of contemplating on what I should title this. I was thinking of titling this Dragon Ball Super fan base is terrible at power scaling, but then I've been in the Dragon Ball community for quite a while. I've been a fan for Dragon Ball for a long time. I've watched many Dragon Ball YouTubers, many power scaling Dragon Ball YouTubers, so I'm very well versed when it comes to the Dragon Ball fans and their understanding of power scaling. And if I'm being honest, their understanding of power scaling is very lackluster. Now, it's not just Dragon Ball. I think a lot of anime fans are terrible at power scaling. I just think Dragon Ball fans, for me personally, are some of the worst when it comes to power scaling. So yeah. But before I get on to it further, I just want to give a big thank you to a couple of my new subscribers, since a lot of you have subscribed recently. So big thank you to that. My channel's at 54 subscribers right now, so thanks. Yeah. The only one I see right here is Sergio Mateus. So big thank you to Sergio Mateus for subscribing to my channel. I know there's a couple other people that subscribed because my subscribe count went up like crazy. I think I was like at 47 or like maybe 49, and now I'm at 54. So thanks for all the subscribing and liking and sharing my videos. So yeah, getting into it. Now, why did I make this video? Well, my videos are mainly, I have tons of Dragon Ball videos, but my main ones and the ones that I like to do the most are the power scaling videos. And recently I have been watching quite a bit of other Dragon Ball YouTubers who do power scale, and I have been critiquing some of their power scalings and have been debunking them for facts such as Seth the Programmer, Chuck, and Saiyan Scholar, some big named ones, but especially Seth. And this is one of the main reasons why I wanted to do this video, because of a specific viewer of mine called Abdullahi Afi. Abdullahi Afi. What he basically was stating was, in my Seth the Programmer video, he said, Seth the Programmer of How Strong is Gohan Beast? I basically debunked that video, and he commented on my video saying that I was wrong, and he had a whole laundry list of what I said was wrong. And this is one of the main reasons why I think a lot of Dragon Ball fanbase is terrible at power scaling, because the arguments he was giving me were piss poor at best. And this is not an attack on him. I don't want you guys to hate on him. I just think that his arguments are, very incorrect. And I get this a lot from Dragon Ball, fans. And I'm betting I'm going to get a lot in the future too from fans that think I'm just wrong. So let me get into what he was saying and why I disagree with it first. Then I'll get into, what the problem I have with Dragon Ball fanbase and the power scaling afterwards. He said, first of all, you said Goten and Trunks didn't benefit from being hybrid Saiyans. I never said that they didn't benefit from being hybrid Saiyans. I stated that they didn't benefit as much as Gohan. I said, out of all the hybrids, Gohan is the only one who has the most benefit from it. And not even just Gohan, I mean main timeline Gohan. If you look at future Gohan, future Trunks, Goten and Trunks from the main timeline, none of them get any level of power increase as Gohan's level. They don't have any potential showing to his level. I just think that the way they wrote him was to be some golden boy that gets some unfair power boost. Though I do see where they're coming from with making him get power boost from being a half Saiyan. I don't have a problem with that. My problem is to the level that he gets it to, and especially when you compare it to other characters that are also half breeds, you would assume that it will be equal across all boards, but it seems like he's the only one that gets the level up to the extent that he gets. But he goes on saying, oh my god, you're so wrong about it. It was literally stated that after the TS, I don't know what TS is, Goten was literally equal to Gohan, and Trunks was able to shock Vegeta as well. They literally been shown to always have even more insane potential than Gohan. Okay, so that was his first argument. Now I'm guessing this is from the Buu Saga, because he mentions Goten was Gohan level and Trunks was able to shake Vegeta. I don't think he watched the Buu Saga correctly. When Gohan was training, Goten was never ever stated to be on the level of Gohan at all. Gohan was just surprised about his power and how he was able to not only achieve, Super Saiyan 1 so early and young in his life, because he was the youngest Super Saiyan, but 2, how he was able to gain such a power increase. Now, this might go into his argument about they did get potential and stuff, and they have great potential, but let's think about what they've done accomplished afterwards. The only real accomplishments we've seen from Goten and Trunks is when they fuse, and that doesn't really count. When they're in Gotenks, when they turn to Gotenks and go Super Saiyan 3 and stuff, that doesn't count since it's kind of cheating. But whenever it comes to doing their own stuff, they rarely do anything. So that argument doesn't really work well anyway. But he stated that he was on his level. He wasn't. The only reason he was doing that was because he surprised Gohan. Gohan assumed that he wasn't that powerful. He didn't even think that he could go Super Saiyan 1. So he was surprised. That's it. It was never said that Gohan was going hard on him. It was training. Gohan was trying to teach him how to fly. Gohan was trying to teach him how to use his powers better. That was it. It was nothing about him being on his level. So no, nowhere was it ever stated Goten at any point was on Gohan's level. And then the Trunks shaking Vegeta thing, this was when Vegeta did the whole thing where he's like, if you can hit me once, then I'll take you to the theme park. And Vegeta was, once again, also like Gohan, taking him lightly because, he's arrogant and stuff. He's like, there's no way I can be hit by my son. And then he caught him off guard. That was it. Doesn't mean he shook him. He just got a lucky strike on him. That doesn't really mean much. If that is what you consider a high level potential, look at what Gohan has done as a hybrid Saiyan, what he's achieved, and look at what they've done. If that's their highest acclimates, then it's nothing, because compared to Gohan, he's done far more. And then his second point, which is the most ridiculous point, and once I'm done with his argument, I just want to go on to the main reason why I'm making this video and the topic at hand with this video. But let's go into it. He said, you also said that along with Goten and Trunks, future Gohan didn't benefit either. Once again, I never said he didn't benefit. I said he didn't benefit to the extent that, regular timeline Gohan did. And he said, and this is why I hate that you skipped the beginning of the video. It said, talking about Z, because he was literally explaining everything you're complaining about. No, he did not explain shit. I skipped those because those are pointless stuff. And he says the reason future Gohan was able to grow as much as current Gohan, wasn't able to grow as much as current Gohan is because future Gohan never got his potential unleashed like current Gohan did by the Kai. That is literally the reason. So what his argument is, and what he thinks I'm saying, which he's basically straw manning, is I was comparing adult Gohan from the regular timeline to adult Gohan, future Gohan's, strength, because they're the same age or whatever. No, that's not what I was doing. I was comparing, future Gohan to Kid Gohan from, the Cell Saga, not, adult Gohan that happened after the Buu Saga or in the Buu Saga. That's what he's equating to, and that is incorrect. Because he's saying, well, he got his potential unlocked by Elder Kai. I never ever once stated in that video that I was comparing him to literally, Vegeta, Buu Saga Gohan, or, post Buu Saga Gohan. I was not talking about that Gohan. I was talking specifically about, Cell Saga, because they went through on the same timeline stuff. Yes, Cell Saga went against Cell, and, his one went against the androids, but let's compare it, like, what happened there. Now, regular timeline Gohan, what did he do? He trained with Goku for a year in the Hyperbolic Time Chamber. He unlocked Super Saiyan 1 in there and was pushing past a little bit more. He trained him, and then when he got out, he was stronger than Goku. He just didn't think he was because he was comparing himself to Goku, so he undervalued himself. And then he went Super Saiyan 2, which he was, dogging Perfect Cell, and even Super Perfect Cell. He had like more than half of his life, his energy taken away, and he was still able to combat him and beat him. Some people say, well, he got help from Vegeta and stuff, but if he didn't lose half of that life, or more than half of his life, he would have been able to easily take out Super Perfect Cell. So he got that much more powerful, and he got that powerful by Android 16 giving him the speech, and then Cell destroying him in front of his face, which basically set him off. Now that's what happened for him to get that powerful. What did future Gohan go through? Well, future Gohan, here's what he went through. One, he lost everybody he cared about, so he had a lot of anger in him. Two, he constantly fought back and forth with the androids, so he would have gotten tons of like Senkai boosts and experience and gotten stronger. Three, he basically, what's the thing called? He had Super Saiyan for years, so he had practice with Super Saiyan for years. And four, he also had high potential. We know how it works. If they get angry, he could transform. So my argument was, if future Gohan has the same potential as, that Gohan, and he was in a timeline where it was more dangerous, more threats, constantly fighting against an enemy all the time and getting stronger, because it would basically be kind of like sparring at that point for him. He also has more rage than him, and he has more training in Super Saiyan alone. Yet he couldn't beat Android 17 and 18, who were weaker than even the main timeline 17 and 18. And Gohan, and in the main timeline, was able to beat Perfect Cell and Super Perfect Cell, who are significantly more powerful. So how is he that much more underpowered even compared to that Cell? And the argument about, well, he got trained by Goku, the hyperbolic time chamber, for a year, and stayed in the Super Saiyan state, it might be a decent enough argument. But look at what Future Gohan has gone through. If we're comparing who has gone through more, it's definitely Future Gohan. So the fact that Future Gohan's power progression was so abysmal compared to just regular timeline Gohan shows to me that the potential increase is not the same going throughout all these even the timelines from Gohan. It is shown only from the main timeline. Obviously, main timeline is the main focus, whereas the future one, if he was that powerful, then it wouldn't be a story. But logically thinking, power scaling wise, it is inconsistent. If Gohan has that much potential, you should be able to surpass it. So yeah, I'm not comparing him to Buu Saga Gohan, where he got his mystic form through his potential unlock. I'm talking about Cell Saga Gohan, who has basically gone through far less than him. So there's that. Okay, that is what I was going on about. So yeah, his argument was lackluster right there. But let's go on to some of his final points, and this is the one where I really made me want to make this video, and the main focal point of this video, because I see this quite a bit. I've seen it a couple of times in my other videos, this argument, and I have a feeling it's going to come back in a lot of times in the future. So I'm making this just in case of I get this argument in the future from any of my other videos. I'll just reference this one. So yeah, he said, so complaining about Gohan's power scaling and saying it doesn't make sense or isn't consistent is pretty dumb to me when it's all explained. Like I said, it's not all explained, and my argument counters that. So what are you going to say to that? That is not an all explanation. Also, you keep saying bad writing when you're talking about the power scaling statements, which makes no sense. Like, those statements are fact and can't be hyperbolic. Yes, something can be a hyperbole or a hyperbolic just because it was shown in the show. The fuck kind of so it's been stated, so that means it can't be hyperbolic. Do you know what that fucking word means? That word means a statement that is over exaggerating something. You see this all the time in writing, saying somebody has infinite power. We've seen it countless times where characters have stated they have infinite power, their power is boundless, this and that, and it's been disproven that the reason why most people with fully functioning brain who can analyze and understand how words work, understand that some words are not as literal as you think it is. Just because it was stated infinite power or unlimited power or untouchable power, whatever, does not mean that that is exactly what it means, unless it is proven or shown otherwise. So that's a piss poor argument right there. And he said, like that fight being the strongest ever. Once again, they state this all the time with characters. That doesn't mean anything. One of the writers for, original Broly said he was the strongest villain they've ever faced, even though we had Hirudegan and, we had, there was a couple other ones, I can't remember. But then he said all that stuff, because like, that's his statement, but it doesn't mean anything because it's not consistent. He even said that Broly, the original Broly, was stronger than Beerus, which is just not true. So yeah, he said, it may sound crazy, but that's just how it is in Dragon Ball. I'm sick and tired of this argument also from Dragon Ball fans saying, this is how it is in Dragon Ball, that's how it is. No, it's not. It's never been official state book that any bullshit goes. That's not how it works. Show me proof that it is. That's the one thing I really do hate about Dragon Ball fans and people in general, when they state something and they don't show evidence to it. You say, that's how it is in Dragon Ball. Okay, show me instances where that's how it's been in Dragon Ball, where a statement, it was just literal 100% and there wasn't any contradictions between it. That is just stupid. You have to accept the statements at face value, especially when there's such an overwhelming amount of those statements. The main focus I want to talk about was at face value. So why do I want to talk about this? Basically, what I've gotten from him and a couple other people, when I made my Dragon Ball GT video and talking about, GT Goku and the GT characters aren't that powerful, there was a guy that was disagreeing and saying, well, the arguments you're making don't really matter because you just have to accept everything. If a character gets hurt by a bullet, it makes sense that they get hurt by a bullet because it was shown. You can't disagree with it or say it's an inconsistency or bad writing. You just have to accept it. So technically, there's no such thing as bad writing in their world. And one of the arguments I made for that was, if if Goku in his base form in GT is so powerful and can destroy dimensions and stuff, then how come he cannot, take out giant space worms? He fired a Kamehameha at it and it deflected it. And his argument or counter argument to mine's was, well, they took it and they like, the worm took it, so that means that the worm can tank, planet destroying attacks, which for me I was like, that's not logical. How can a giant space worm tank planet destroying attacks? He's like, well, it was shown, then it must be true. And my argument was, just because it's shown doesn't mean it's true. It just means it's bad writing or inconsistency, instead of that worm being, planet level. It makes more sense that it was just bad writing and it was, inconsistent for the worm to be able to tank his Kamehameha, than the worm is planet level or beyond planet level. That's just idiotic. But I've gotten this before, and I know in the future I'm going to get this, where people are going to make the argument. I'm going to say, this is inconsistency, this is bad writing, this is, a plot armor, this is, an outlier, and the argument is, well, if it was shown, then it counts. If it's stated, then it counts. If it's shown, then it counts. That is a dumb argument. By that argument, you're basically saying inconsistencies is not a thing, bad writing is not a thing, plot armor is not a thing, outliers is not a thing, death of the author is not a thing, just no limit fallacies are nothing. You can't make any arguments. You just have to accept everything at face value, and that's such an idiotic way to do it. If you're power scaling or debating or doing these versus battles, you're supposed to be analyzing. What the fuck is the point of analyzing if you just take everything at face value? That's not how any debater does it. If you look at any power scaling channel who does debating or versus or stuff, death battle stuff like that, they will take in consideration inconsistencies. Some might be more lenient on it, but they will still call it out. Even Seth the Programmer, the same video that this guy was mentioning on, Seth the Programmer's video, where he's saying, oh yeah, this and that, even Seth the Programmer has used these arguments and made these statements. Why? Because that's how it works. We know as, power scalers, if you're really good at power scaling, you would understand that one of the basics of, power scaling is the fact that a lot of these writers are not writing these stories to showcase how powerful these characters are or to write these things down. And a lot of times they have stuff that contradict each other. These things are like either retcons or just inconsistencies, plot armor, whatever. It happens in writing. It's a part of writing. Just like writing a story, there's going to be sometimes plot holes in writing. It just happens. And as a debater or a power scaler, you have to be smart enough to analyze those inconsistencies, call it out, pick and choose, and say, hey, this doesn't make sense, and be able to go in a linear path. There needs to be a linear path. If anything diverts too far wide from it, like let's say there's a feat, we see consistent amount of feats showcasing a progression of power a certain way, and then there's one that shows it too far off and one that's too far down. It showcases that there's some inconsistency there. So like let's say a character is destroying having the ability to destroy, let's just say a continent level destructive power, and then out of nowhere they show being able to destroy a whole solar system. Like, what? That's a crazy jump in power that doesn't really connect. Or they're so weak that they can only destroy a building level. That is what we talk about when it comes to outliers. But that's just how it works. Even Seth the Programmer used it. So for him to use that argument, it's like, well, then technically you should be disagreeing with Seth himself, because Seth has used these arguments all the time. He's used death of the author. Death of the author clearly goes against those statements. What it basically states is sometimes the author might not know as much about what they're writing as their fans, or forget something, and they say something that happened, and then they say something else afterwards that contradicts it. So what do? You go by the already established story, and you ignore any new information that does not add up. That's how you do it. Unless it is just a complete retcon and now we change the whole continuity itself. But yes, there's more intricacies into power scaling than just, if it's shown, just take it. Just take every statement and feat as literally true. It's just stupid. I made a video on this where it's talking about statements versus feats, and I talk about feats, unlike statements, are harder to disprove, because statements, it depends on if it makes sense with a feat that has been shown, if it is consistent, and who it's coming from. Whereas a feat, it just has to be shown because it's literal. But even then, you can have inconsistencies in feats where we've had it. And Dragon Ball fans have made these arguments before. People have argued about, Master Roshi destroying the moon. People say that that's an outlier because after that we have Demon King Piccolo, who only should destroy cities. So like, how can he destroy a moon and then have people only city level? That makes no sense. So they put, that as an outlier. and Piccolo at moon level because they're saying it makes consistent sense. Now, I'm not saying that that's the case. I will have a video on that in the future. I'm not saying that that's the case, but they themselves have even argued that. So we see this all the time. Only the people who do not clearly know what power scaling is and are too simple-minded when it comes to this would say that. Would say that you have to take it in face value. It is inconsistencies that are in there. There's a reason why people are pissed off by Goku getting hurt by a bullet or getting taken out by a laser, because these do not make sense. They have to be consistent. Let's look at it in a debating sense. Let's say you're saying this character versus this character, okay? How are you going to argue? If you're going to argue that this character is this powerful by using all their powerful feats, then your opponent can also use counter arguments saying, well, look at all the feats that made them look weaker. So what are you going to do? Are you going to ignore those, or are you going to accept it? If you accept both, then you're accepting high-end feats and low-end feats. And when you accept both of them, then there's no consistency to it. How are you going to do a debate about a character who's shown to be ridiculously OP, but also be unbelievably weak? It just contradicts itself. So there has to be still consistent writing in it. It's like telling somebody, who does, watches movies and TV shows for a living and is doing a review saying, there's this plot hole in the story and stuff like that, and just be like, nope, well, it was written in the story, so you have to take it at face value, so there's no such thing as plot holes. What? That is stupid. That's not how writing works. When there's a plot hole, that means that there's a gap in logic or reasoning or, consistency that was written into the story. And when you see that, you have to call it out and then point out that it's a problem. If you just ignore it, then that would mean that no movie or TV show in the world can have a plot hole at all. By that logic, if you just take everything at face value, there's no plot holes in any writing. I guess all writing is good. There's no such thing as bad writing. That is such an idiotic statement. And the fact that this has been stated by not just him, but other Dragon Ball fans is unbelievable. I don't know if other anime communities do this to him, but I've seen this definitely from the Dragon Ball fan base where they make that argument. That is such a stupid argument to make. We, as if you do power scaling, you would know that it's far more complex than just what is shown and what is stated. You have to do more research. You have to look more in depth and what is shown. That's what I did with the movie. In the movie, they might have stated those stuff, but when you look at it, it didn't add up. The fact that he was getting hurt by those things, the fact he was getting damaged, the fact that, Gohan was able to compare against him, that is my problem. And I have no problem with Gohan getting stronger. I even stated it in my truck video and in that video. I don't know why people don't listen, but I'll explain it once again. I don't have a problem with Gohan getting stronger. I just have a problem with how they did it. They got him from, being unbelievably weak to being that powerful and argued to be even more powerful than Goku and Vegeta in one movie, in one fight. Is it ridiculous for me to think that that's stupid? What I stated was, it's fine if they did it. You know how they should have done it? They should have had it where Gohan is still training. Maybe not as much as he would normally do when he's not working, but he's still consistently training. So he keeps his, his mystic form and he's getting strong in it, just not significantly enough. Then we have Whis come to him and say, hey, I've trained your father and I've trained Vegeta. They're powerful Saiyans, but I've seen more potential in you than in them. So I want to help you unlock it too. And just like how he unlocked Vegeta, Super Saiyan God and Vegeta, he unlocks it in Gohan. But the difference is, instead of, Goku and Vegeta when they mixed in Super Saiyan with their, godly form, he tries to mix in his mystic form within the Super Saiyan God, thus getting, Gohan Beast, which is basically supposed to be his, Super Saiyan Blue version or form, or even higher than that level. And it's harder for him to obtain it because, one, he has more potential, and two, it's harder to, combine godly power with mystic power than godly power with Super Saiyan. That's what if they did that route, I would have been perfectly fine. But they did it in such a bad route, and he was even weak in the movie because when Piccolo came there, one, Piccolo gave him his clothes, his clothes when he did the clothes thing, and Gohan was struggling to hold himself up. He's like, whoa, this is heavy. And we know how much it weighs, 250 pounds. I'm sorry, but at this point, 250 pounds is absolutely nothing. The fact that Gohan was able to feel it and struggling with 250 pounds is just ridiculous. Also, he was even more pathetic due to the fact that when Piccolo came up there in disguise, he couldn't tell it was him. And Piccolo was even baffled. He's like, you can't sense my energy? Even his 3.5-year-old daughter, Pan, could sense his energy, but Gohan couldn't. Do you think that's really logical? Think about how weak that is. He was that weak that he could barely hold 250 pounds. He was so weak that he couldn't even sense that it was Piccolo and his daughter could. Sensing something that's so basic that he learned all the way back in the Saiyan Saga. He couldn't even do that. But now he's able to, match with Gamma 1 and 2, who are characters who are supposed to be, able to handle Goku and Vegeta, and then turn into his beast form and take out Cell Max, who's supposed to be stronger than Broly and all these other characters. No, I cannot accept that. That even the movie itself put him as super weak, and then he gets so much more powerful from one little instance. It doesn't make any sense. Also, Piccolo, I'm fine with him getting powerful, but they should have done a better way. He could have, looked through the Namekian Book of Lore, whatever it was called, in Battle of Gods, and found a way to obtain a godly Namekian form. That would have been perfectly fine with me, but they took a super route. So I have no problem with Gohan and Piccolo getting stronger beyond Goku's and Vegeta's level. I want that, but I want it still to be done correctly and in a way that's reasonable, not in just any fashion that no matter how stupid or ignorant it may come out to be. That's my problem with it. But yeah, the argument from the Dragon Ball fan base with the whole take it at face value, no. If you're a power scaler or one with any credibility, if you were to just take it at face value, you would have no credibility. Ones that have credibility were able to look into it more deeply. And that's what even Seth the programmer, Chuck, all these guys do all the time. So if he's making that argument, then he should be making that argument with Seth. Because Seth has made countless videos where he's talking about inconsistencies, bad writing, power scale, plot armor, retcons, death of the author. He's used these terminologies all the goddamn time. And these terminologies, though they did exist into like a certain extent, they had been fully utilized, and most of them have been created by the power scaling community in general. The power scaling community acknowledges these terms because they have meaning to it, and they're used in arguments because this is more complex than what you think. So they wouldn't be created and used if we just take everything at face value. That's just not how it works. And for all the statements that was made in the movie, they say that, but then they say the same thing for Jiren. Oh, Jiren is so wasn't more stronger than us. He had better control. But we saw he was definitively stronger than them. He was, from what was shown, he was definitively stronger than them. And they also said that, Goku was surprised that why is Vegeta meditating? Why would he do this? When Goku's already explained the importance of it, so that you're also, contradicted, the writing of, how he views getting stronger in power. So there was inconsistencies in that. So why are you saying that all the statements matter when they've, been contradicted itself? So yeah, my problem is literally that. I just don't like when people make that argument, stating that, well, if it's shown that a bullet hurt them, then it makes sense. No, you can't make an argument that a bullet can hurt, a universal level being because it's maybe it was upgraded or some bullshit like that. That's some straight up headcanon. And it's funny because they will take headcanon more into consideration. They're saying that inconsistencies, bad writing, bad power scaling, plot armor, that doesn't count. That doesn't make any sense. But stating that using headcanon, that works. That makes logical sense to use headcanon. It was never stated in the show, but we made it up because we're trying to fit it in. That's fine. But we saying this is inconsistency is not fine, that's dumb. So yeah, I just think the Dragon Ball fan base is terrible when it comes to power scaling. The reason why there's so many terrible Dragon Ball Super fanboys, they're saying that defend the writing, is because the Dragon Ball fan base, a lot of them are not that smart, if I'm being honest. And this is not a new thing. It's been stated by many YouTubers that Dragon Ball fans are not the brightest when it comes to most stuff, and it showcases in here clearly that they're not smart enough to understand these more in-depth stuff. If you don't do power scaling yourself, it's fine, but don't act like you know it when you don't. You're just saying things that don't make any sense in the end of the day. So yeah, that's it for my video. I know I came off a little combative, but this is just the truth. You guys clearly don't know what you're talking about when you make statements like these. All the statements that I'm stating in this video is legit, is 100%. Also, I have made other videos where I've disproven, Seth the programmer, and I will be, talking about that in the future where I have disproven it. But I made this video specifically if anybody asks or makes these statements, I'm just going to refer you guys to this video so I don't have to go through it again. So if you guys want to make that argument, just rewatch this video and you'll see my point on it. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and stay tuned for next time.